Good morning and welcome to Who Am I? Welcome back. So glad to have you back. I have made a decision this morning. I am going to, for the very first time, attempt to describe my video in the description area of my video. I'm not going to put my links list there. However, if you, I may figure out how to embed, but I probably not today. Today's video probably is not going to have links at the end where you can push all the things on my links list. But if you go back to almost any of my previous videos, like go to yesterday's video, and you'll see this in the description. I'm not sure if it was black yesterday or if it was white yesterday, but basically it's this list. I added one last thing at the bottom, although I didn't say what it was. See, every single one of these says link to, link to, link to. Well, the bottom one I forgot to say that, but that one is another, it's over at ResearchGate. It's a long list of articles that he has published. All about all kinds of things. The holographic mass solution. And let's see what all is over there. That's really cool. I haven't read the articles. I've only read the titles of the articles. And that itself is so exciting. Let's see. We have things like, what do we got here? The electron and the holographic mass solution. The unified space memory network from cosmogenesis to consciousness. Resolving the vacuum catastrophe, a generalized holographic approach. Resolving the that's another one. Unified physics and the information network of awareness. The universe that we abide in is just so cool, people. It's so much cooler than what the scientists have been telling me all my life. What the mainstream, the place where us as a group, where we sort of agree on what the state of the universe is. And that, from that direction, it has always seemed so bland to me, in a way. You know, taking all the mystery out of it, and then it's all known, and we all understand, and you just go back and pay attention to something else because there's nothing to see here. The Unified Space Memory Network from, let's see, I already got that one. Quantum gravity and the holographic mass. This is going to free us from gravity, people. Does anybody out there have any imagination? Can you see how the world will be different when we have free, clean energy and have conquered gravity? Actually, I need to get off of this. This is such a boring... Where was I? I was in my mushroom series. Where is my mushroom? Here it is. Where was I? Was I here? No, I wasn't there. Was I here? Yeah, I think this is where I was. Not that it matters. I have all these pleasant backscapes. I have a moon series, a cabin series, a campfire and cabin and fire and whatever series. There's a bunch of them run into one another. I have people. I have several young girls looking pensive or magical or somehow, then I have this one here. Mushroom running boy. I like this one, actually. At first I didn't because he's running but he's still. But I kind of like that, My girl series. I love this one. This is one of my favorite ones. It reminds me of a time when we had moved to Africa. We periodically rented cheap cabins, structures, I don't know, without windows or air conditioning, but they had electricity and they had fans, and we would rent these places on the beach in Mombasa, Kenya, outside Mombasa. 95 degrees and humid. I'm such a wuss now, I can't even believe we do that. But I remember sitting on the beach, gazing out to sea with this yearning, this deep sense of reaching for something I knew not what. You know, who knows what those fires in the blood are at 13. Ah, well, that's why I like this one, because my hair was long and straight. She looks about 13. I was never quite, well, I could have been. I was thin. So, who am I? What's the show? I have maybe not properly introduced it. The show is based on the question, who am I, in reference to source energy, as in the source that holds us all together, that brings us into being. What the hell is the structure of this matrix that we have found ourselves in? And I mean in a general way, but in a general way really good and clear and in alignment, set for all the specialties to head off into the bushes from this general position. You know, that kind of really powerful, meaningful general. Got all of the general details in alignment, in accordance, in in flow with what the spirit of my overview self knows to be true. What my spirit overview self is, not just knows. So what are we talking about? Well, fairly recently, as in about 12 years ago, coming up exactly, the first paper was published by Nassim about that unifies physics, that shows you how the quantum relates to the cosmological. And it's really quite mind-blowing. And you can't just look at this from like on the other side of a plexiglass plate, you know, a plate glass window where you're on the other side observing the whole universe in a very detached way. It's actually has been my preferred way my whole life. But the interesting thing is there is a place where that meets reality. You are the field. You are the quantum field. You were made of these vacuum fluctuation particles, and you are just sort of like what is? I keep thinking Etch-a-Sketch, but there's got to be a better toy that I can use as an analogy for this. You're embedded in a field that it's pretty much impossible to separate you from everything around you. You're all matrixed in there. It may look from one side of this equation like you're a separate object, but that's not really true. That's just kind of an illusion. So, how does an understanding of all of this free us? Free us. I'm serious. Free us. Free us from want, from care, from hate, from the tyranny of negative emotion. How does this free us and put us all in a better state of joy and alignment so that we can face our, I'm air quoting, problems out there in the world? Because we do indeed have some. You know, if you're having a hard time feeding your children, or you are living on the street, or you are in severe physical pain of some sort, or you don't understand death and it's happening too much around you, or you're consumed with anger, or you have anxiety issues, or any kind of functional anything. If any of those things are happening to you, then you've got problems. You've got problems. And so how do you apply the meaning of all of these things? How does that help anybody? Well, I know how it will help all of us when we collectively get this, because it's going to affect our systems. Because there are systems that we engage in order to relate to one another and live our lives. All of us do. All of us work with all these systems all the time. Systems like transportation systems, even involving the road outside your house. So, even to that extent, you're using the transportation systems and the communication systems, which include the telephones and includes things like this. I am communicating. It's a delayed, and we'll see how delayed the communication of this actually comes. Somebody's going to get really excited about this. And then this is going to be like archived, but people are going to go back and they're going to go, where did she come from? How did she develop this amazing thing? This crazy, really in alignment, general view of the whole world. And her life is actually starting to work pretty well. So, maybe it's something to emulate. It may not be anything to emulate just yet. I'm a take it easy, take it slow kind of gal. So, as these things start shifting in our lives, and I'm sure they will, I'm absolutely positive. I can feel the machinery, engaged. It's like I can feel the corn in the ground, and I can hear the little roots, reaching down to the, and I can almost see a little green bud at the top of the soil. Right at the surface. But we're far from harvesting corn yet. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm having a good time. There is no other way to go than this. To truly understand reality, you got to get into alignment with your inner being. And you are going to... So how do I think all of this is going to free us? Well, a couple things. First of all, what are you going to be free of? You're going to start to be free of the tyranny of your negative self. That negative being that you keep creating when you look at the world from a negative point of view, believe you are that, attach to that, and go for it physically. Whenever you do that, there's a thing that you do where you believe primarily the physical world, and the emotion about it comes second. Now, I was telling my daughter this yesterday. It was just coming to me as a realization of why there are certain things about the universe that I understand fairly clearly. Because I'm a very neutral person. I'm not an emotional person. Although I am a marshmallow, very, I'm a vulnerable person with really tender, sweet emotions. I really am. On the other hand, I'm not really a dramatic person. But you can get me in my soft underbelly. You can find it in... And there are things that really get to me. But for the most part, I'm pretty neutral. And because of that... So you're neutral, and you're walking around, you're looking at the world, and you go, okay, this is the world. Now, if you happen to go into a state of not, so you're neutral, or you go into a state of hyper negative, right? So you got those two, those are the two that you're juxtaposing. What I noticed right off is that the very shape and caliber, the timbre, the meaning, there was a whole cant of the universe that shifted dramatically. And the world just looks like a way different place when you are in a negative emotion. And since I am a person who lives a little and then reflects a lot, and then lives a little and then reflects a lot, or that's my preferred mode, I enjoy that mode more than anything else, because truly I think my calling is to understand the meaning of our lives. It's just from the perspective that I can bring to it, whatever anybody can get out of it, whatever anybody finds interesting, in the whole package of me that I bring to this, and the way I bring it to the table, through my thesis, through trying to figure out how reality is working, from a layman's position, not full of all the specialties, the hyper specialized mathematics and such, because although I did get an A in second semester calculus in my sophomore year of college. And I got I got a B in a mathematical proofs class in my junior year at ASU, which I did not finish. My junior year, it was actually the summer before what would have been my junior year had I not dropped out of college. And a couple times I went back to, did I? Did I go back to community college again and pick up some more credits after? I think I did. I think after dropping out of, then I tried to go back, went back for another semester. Anyway, and long story short, it doesn't even matter. I did eventually, at 50 years old, I graduated from junior college, got my AA degree, and it's so ironic because although I went back to college, the reason I did it is because I wanted to do the culinary program, and I did it for a while. I cooked in the kitchens at C&M, the main campus. Drove myself, did the stuff. It was interesting. I did that at 50 years old. Well, I did it at maybe 49. Might have been when I first started. In any case, did it for a minute, decided I did not want to do cooking for a living. It was actually not for me. I didn't know what was for me, but I had a good time. And then I got inspiration by being back into school and went back and took all the classes that I needed to fill in the gaps of my AA degree. They were making me take stuff now that they wouldn't have made me back then. A computer class and a communications class. They may have made me take that back then. I needed another science. So I took astronomy, and I took a philosophy class with the most fabulous philosophy teacher, Jeff Salbato. Love that man. Really helped me to rethink and reorder the workings of my internal operating system, my computer consciousness. Rethink my beliefs, understand where and what my beliefs were coming from, and question them all, and then reorder them more intentionally. That has helped bring me to this moment. Anyway, I majored in. That's not the right way to say it. What I got my AA degree in was, ironically, general studies. Instead of I could have gotten it in, there was something else, didn't matter. I got it in general studies, which is so me anyway. That's exactly what I should have gotten the degree in. Can I do a 4-year degree in general studies? Do they do that? Or is that all about the specialty at that point? It's almost like my specialty has been generalizing, which I know my people don't really appreciate. You can get the generalizing so wrong. You can get it so wrong, and it can be so offensive. Both on, if you're overly positive in your generalization of, it can be quite offensive. So I'm careful about what I generalize. My thesis kind of puts me into a sort of specialty. It's source energy. An understanding of who we are, how source energy works, both mathematically and in consciousness, which bleeds both from technology right into human psychology and human relationships and human systems. Speaking of which, I hadn't even finished all the list of human systems. Communication, I got to that one. We have an education system. We have a circulatory system as the goods and services produced by all of us independently, and we have big project goods that we produce, as well as little ones, everything from the big ag to the little ag, and it's all on the market. And the technologies, and then there's energies on the market, and then things like Airbnbs are on the market, the ability to stay in a place for a minute while you move about the world doing different things. We live in such an interesting world, and if instead of getting all stuck on the one view that you were taught when you were growing up, if you would learn to open up your mind and see the real world, see how cool the world really is. I don't even know who this person is that's telling you all this. I get into a very very non-resistant state of dreamy thought. And I just start pulling everything together and adding everything together. And it's sort of stream of consciousness, riffy riff. I add in, it's almost like I'm just talking to you. And I don't know. I'm trying to explain why I would have any credibility. Why would you believe anything I say? Well, there's really no reason for you to believe anything I say unless it resonates with you. I pull from all the people that I can. I have had my list of gurus in the past. It's very interesting when I look at my YouTube playlist on my original YouTube channel. Just the one with my name, not the other ones that I have created since then. And the main one that I use, that I post this one on, the Who Am I in the Field YouTube channel. It's a long list of the gurus that I have that have been the path that have led me to somehow turning the switch on this show. And now I'm doing it. And I don't know where it's going. It's still kind of raw. And it certainly isn't very listened to by very many. But I'm getting used to doing this. And it's sort of detached from my specific self. It sort of is. But it sort of isn't. There's a place where this show and the person that I am specifically, where we meet. And part of it is the giving voice to a bigger me, that I feel no resistance about the world. I'm pushing back against nothing. I really am not. I could tell you about, so a lot of people are conspiracy theorists, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, even though I know that there are jillions of conspiracies out there. Of course there are. If you came to me and told me, and you're all shocked and outraged, such and such is going on, so and so is doing yada yada, I would just shrug my shoulders and say, you're not lying, I'm not going to argue with that. I'm sure you're true. I'm sure you're right. But I'm not going to do anything about it from that position. Where I want to pull that understanding into a different place and have it help fuel me from a positive direction. Have it be like, okay, I hear you. More voices are telling me It's getting real around you. You better start helping the coherence come into being, because, people are outraged. They're feeling wronged. They're us and theming all over the place. They are not understanding their wholeness, their individual wholeness, as well as our collective wholeness. They think that there's some rules that go this way, but then on the ground, in reality, over here, the rules are different. Over here, you can bomb people because over here, real people are real threats and real assholes. And so because of that, in this situation, these other rules about what I'm saying about the Matrix and love and, connected, blah, 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 all of that doesn't matter. Because over here, it really is okay for us to have a collective war machine that is what? It's not okay. It's not okay, and we need to really rethink this. I completely understand why we have done it. Momentum and everything being what it is. I can understand why we have done this, but we've got to rethink ourselves. We've just got to. But even that, I'm not really pushing against it, because what we really need to do is just kind of collectively get to a place where we get ourselves. Don't jump into any action, way too soon, Unless it's a soothing action, that you can do anytime. Anytime you want to soothe or bring, light into a situation, or love, or understanding, or, unruffle feathers. That kind of action is always in vogue, in order. Always a good idea. But other than that, as far as making any sort of lurching actions, as best as I can, I like to stay sort of still and get my legs underneath me. And then when I can find a positive crack to get in, then I'd go. I go for it. It's like, okay, there's an opening. I'm going to go for it right here. Momentum at all costs is not the name of my game. I don't do it that way. I don't live my life that way. I don't care about that. I actually don't care about momentum. I did a momentum for a minute. I lived my earlier life. And I got a real good track on, I understand what I'm looking at now and what my path about this is. And I can help other people too from where they are. I could just say it from where I am, and they got to take it from where they are, and that's as it should be. That's all just well and fine. And then I go back to my being slow. I don't want to be at the head of an empire or anything like that. I don't want to make any sudden moves, even though I think I get what it is I'm looking at, who we are, how it works, what source energy is, what the meaning of our states of being are. Our states of being are telling us which direction on the grid we are going. We're either going in a direction towards a shift in the manifestation that will be preferred, or depending on which direction, how we feel as we're going that way, are we moving towards a shift in the manifestation that we will not prefer? Because I promise you, we're always moving towards a shift in the manifestation, because the manifestation is always shifting. It's always moving. And so is it moving in the direction of what we like, or is it moving in the direction of what we don't like? In other words, is it getting more chaotic or more coherent? And more coherent in loving, kind directions, not just, in frickin' triplicate kind of. There was a kind of order to the Third Reich. There was definitely a kind of order, a crazy. As a matter of fact, when you talk about order and chaos, because I talk about the two forces in the universe, chaos and coherence. There's two kinds of order in the universe. One is chaotic and the other one is coherent. But there is definitely a kind of order to the dark side of the human equation. The shadow self, the dark self, the negative self can create an order from that side. But the order from that side is out of alignment with the vibrational reality, the true vibrational reality of what's going on around. It's a kind of order that imposes itself from the outside, looking at a pattern that only it sees that does not match what's going on the outside. And I've got an example of what I'm talking about. So we went to Africa when I was 12 years old. I had just turned 12. My birthday's in July. First, it was like the 12th of August, we left the United States. Spent 10 days or so in Rome. Well, we spent like a week back east while my dad went to, he went to some place in Washington. And while he went to some place in Washington and did meetings, briefings and stuff on what the job was going to be, what they wanted him to do, we stayed with my uncle Clarence, who lived in the D.C. area. And then we spent 10 days in Rome because the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations is headquarters in Rome. And Dad had to go to a bunch of meetings there for more briefings on what his job was going to be when we got to Kenya. So very interesting, all of that. Anyway, so I just turned 12. And hold on. Why was I talking about this? I went too far into the details of something and I lost the thread of the bigger thought that I was talking about. Something about how oh, yeah, I was talking about Idi Amin next door and witnessing something that he did. So at one point, they look around. This is very Hitler-like, what he did too. Just like it was sort of a little more craven, a little more raw. In a way, Africa's kind of like that. Africa is more raw. I'm not sure I would call it more craven, but this action of Idi Amin was possibly less ideologically driven. I don't think he had anything really against Asians, really specifically, not the same way that Hitler had something very specifically against the Jews. He blamed them for everything in the world. I'm not sure Idi Amin blamed the Asians for, everything in the world. But what Idi Amin did is he kicked all of the Asians out of Uganda, and then gave all of their property, which was most of the shops, most of the economic activity was being conducted by Asians and their families. They had been brought in by the British to complete the East African Railroad project. The East Africa used to be Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya were in a kind of alliance, a British colonization alliance, and they brought in lots of. Why they did that and didn't figure out how to give jobs to local Africans, I don't know. They couldn't force people to do this work, I guess. I don't know, but they brought Asians the same way we brought Chinese people into the United States to finish the railroad in the western United States. That's why there's so many Chinese people in like San Francisco and stuff. There was a colony that was started by the Chinese people that we brought in to finish the railroad. Well, there's a lot of Asian people in, and then when so Uganda is a colony of the member of the British Commonwealth, and what Britain did with India and all that, how they colonized India and owned it for a while, jewel in the crown and all that, until Gandhi helped India throw the yoke of British whatever off. Anyway, that's the history of this situation. But most of the shops were owned by Asian people. And so when Idi Amin kicked all of the... So he's thinking, Africa for the Africans. Why are all of these foreigners owning our country? We're going to kick them all out. We're going to give all of their shops to Africans. And then they're going to run the shops, and everything's going to be great. And so it was a tremendous upheaval. We were actually in Kenya next door when all the Asians were kicked out of Uganda. And they all kind of came through. Some of them went back to India, but most of them probably went on to Great Britain because they had British passports. Now, for the longest time, they had homes in Uganda and no intention of going anywhere else. But when Idi Amin kicked them out, then they had to... That's another reason how come there's lots and lots and lots of Indians. Well, when Great Britain did what they did to India, it almost guaranteed that they would be yoked to them, for forever. That's what they get for it. That's, And I don't mean to say that that's a bad thing. I mean, it just means you did that to yourself. You tied yourself really tightly to this nation when you treated it the way that you did. When you treated it as poorly as you did. And you will be responsible or tied to her people forevermore because of it. Anyway, my whole point of my story was what he did that, and he gave all the shops to Africans and stuff, and none of them knew how to run the shops. They didn't know how to run the shops. Vibrationally speaking, they did not fit in the roles that they had been given. He's just kind of tore the vibrational root out of the whole thing, thinking that it was this thing on the surface instead of this deeper thing. The reason that the Asians ran the shops is because they were good at running the shops. They enjoyed running the shops. They had a way of using the whole family system, worked with, they were educated, they had... I don't know, you couldn't just sweep them away and just randomly put your friends and family in, give your uncles and your thugs that have helped you overturn the whole thing. You just reward them by, you can have this shop and you can have that shop. And all they did was loot the place, and then they couldn't run the shops. And the economy of the country just tanked. And that came from looking at it from the outside instead of looking at it from the inside, and from a greedy, disconnected, angry, raw sort of... We've got to understand who we really are and how this really works in order for us to be successful and sustainable and create a world that's even worth living in, I don't want to just survive, with my gas mask and my bomb shelter and my post-apocalyptical hellscape. I don't want to do that. So let's pretend like this is the very, that somebody's watching this show for the very first time. What is it that I'm really talking about? Because I've been yammering, I'm just blathering about whatever, and if you've randomly just found me, you may not have any idea what my show is really about. Who am I? Who am I in reference to source energy? Because my thesis statement, I should probably always start the show with a thesis statement, and I'm 39 minutes in. It's a little late to be bringing that to the table, but I believe that all of the woes of humanity come primarily from one source: us not understanding who we are and how the system that we are embedded in works. What are the laws of the universe? What is the biotechnology of my own personal human being vehicle? The vehicle of meat that I drive around, that my consciousness is cloaked in this iteration of myself. I'm not just cloaked in this, I have come into it, I have coalesced into it. It is me, but it isn't really me because I am the light that shines within. I am the formless within the form, but I am also in charge of bringing the form into being, so I'm really both. But I'm primarily the formless. The formless is who I am first, and then I become the form. That's the order of things. And so the vibration is really what comes first. That's all that means. I'm not saying, ooh, I'm formless. Yes, I'm formless. That's the me that I really am. But the form is what the me that I really am can make. And so that's me too. That's the effect of Anyway, we don't know who we are. We don't know how it works. And I maintain that this is going to save us from two levels. One is from the psychological and spiritual level, going to help us understand ourselves so that we become more peaceful, highly effective, extremely trustworthy, efficient, blessed, joyful beings unto this planet. Amen, sister. Kind of a thing. On the one hand, psychologically, peace on earth, goodwill towards men, all of that pie in the sky kind of stuff. And the other thing, one of the engines that's going to get us there, the understanding of source energy is going to open up free, clean energy for everyone, everywhere. No matter where you are, no matter what the infrastructure, I'm air quoting infrastructure around you, you don't have to have any infrastructure to be able to plug any device into source energy anywhere, because source energy is everywhere. So that's really going to change the game. It's going to change the game. And then a last practical note is going to be the conquering of gravity. Our understanding of this mathematics is going to help us conquer gravity. So we got gravity conquered, the energy situation is conquered. Now what do we got going on? Well, I can see a whole lot of problems. People don't know who they are. They're still going to be fighting with one another. They're still going to be all petty and small about this and that, thinking that that's what the game is, instead of picking their eyes up off the frickin', pavement and getting your eyes up on the road ahead of us and see where we're going. Quit making such a big deal about where we are. Okay, fine. We're not in a great place in some ways. There are people that lie to us and have been lying to us for 100 years about what's possible. But can you blame them? If we had been told 100 years ago about free, clean energy everywhere, there are some people who would have used it in World War II to obliterate the planet or to truly accomplish the final solution. We weren't grown up enough. Are we now? I don't know. But it's happening. It's happening. The mathematics is there, and the technology is going to follow. We're going to conquer gravity, which means we're going to have our transportation systems coming up off the surface of the planet. It is. It's coming up off the surface of the planet, which means you're going to be able to, get up and then fly wherever. It means that your neighbor's fences and all of their armed guards around the fences, be careful what you fly over. You could get shot. Be really careful about that right at first, people. We've got a world of disconnect to connect, to weave the threads of life back into a coherent, viable, sustainable eco world. full of the creatures that we want to dance and play with. We can do this. We don't have to be so what we've got in this moment oriented in the way we think. I am not oriented that way. Now, I realize that in a sea of people who are really just studying what we've got and trying to figure it out from a practical level, from that standpoint, I might seem like a crazy person because I'm talking about tomorrow and not just today, this very instant. It is the analogy of driving somewhere. I'm driving to Santa Fe, and I can only see the road, right in front of me. Maybe it's even snowing, and I can only see 100 yards in front of me. But it doesn't matter. My mind's on Santa Fe. I know where I'm going. If I get really, really focused on the exact point where I'm at, forget about the snowing. If I get all intensely, concentrating on focusing on the exact gravel, the configuration of the gravel where my wheels are right this second, I come to a stop, and now I'm just sitting there looking at the different cracks in the pavement, and, I've forgotten all about Santa Fe. You got to get your eyes up off, there's a reason why we don't put the windshield in the floorboards. Abraham uses that analogy. Get the windshield up in front of you. Keep your eyes in front of you. What you've got right, what we have right in this moment is not the most important thing. Although there are a lot of people in different kinds of conspiracy theories, in different kinds of conspiracies, who would like very much for you to keep looking that direction, who don't really want you to, or maybe they don't have the imagination to see the possibilities. The people in the movie The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, when they talk about the potential, when we get our wheels up off the ground and we rebloom, our manufacturing is different, our transportation is different, our energy source is now clean and free and abundant, so 100% recycling of all the crap and trash and problematic, stuff that we have had. We can resequester carbon. You can make all of we can desalinate all the water we want to. We can recycle Garbage Island. All of our problems like that go away. And as a matter of fact, world poverty will vanish within 20 years. Completely vanish. Amidst a world that is now not depleting in 6 mass extinction, but rather leaping and dancing in abundance, growing. I would like to hear constantly the scientists, the zoologists and biologists of the planet, declaring, oh my gosh, a new species has appeared that's just a little different from these others, and fulfills this particular niche. We can do it. We can regarden Eden. I would like people to know that, and I would like people to know where the mathematics is going to come from, because the mathematics has been done. And here we go. This is the first thing. This is actually a paper that was published just last September. Now, he's got lots and lots of papers, as it turns out. I wish I could, I know that there's a way to do this. I should ask my daughter. I don't know how to pull it into my OBS studio, like the ability to screen share so that I could wander around my computer while I talk, showing this and that and the other. Everything from, I could pull up that'd be a great skill. I should ask my daughter how to do that. Wander around my computer screen. How to share my computer screen on set. The Kafka and the Doll story would be easier to tell, actually. I'd pull it up and read it aloud while we're looking at it. Anyway, that's an idea. I just found a treasure trove of all of these different papers in one place that Nassim has published about the nature of our universe in physics. This is the Holy Grail, people. This is the one that Sheldon Cooper talks about all the time. Why have they not acknowledged that this is unified now? This is the relationship between a proton and a universe. They're the black hole. They're black holes with a WHOLES as well as HOLES. They're fractals. They're fractal integers of the wholeness, the almighty, the great. It's a force of coherence that you can count on, that you can lean on. It's what everybody has called the G word. This force that holds us together, that pulls us together. So in a way, the universe has no meaning. But in a way, the universe absolutely has this incredible meaning that you bring to it. You're the one who brings it to it. Because whichever way you go, the universe is going to echo right back to you whichever side you've chosen. So you can choose the dark side and thinking, whatever, and the abyss opens up, the maw of the abyss opens up in front of you and echoes back to you with its bottomless pit and says, "There is no meaning and the devil rules." That's what's gonna. That's what the appearance is gonna be if you choose that side. If you choose the side of going into the areas of your mind where your inner being does not share any enthusiasm. Your inner being's not there. She's over looking at something else more interesting. If you want to go into the dark places where your inner being, where your inner light is not, yes, the universe will support you in that sense of agonizing dark emptiness. You can go and find that feeling and then come back and declare that the darkness exists and that the devil rules. You can do that if you want to, and the universe will support you that direction. I grant you that. But the fact is that's really not what the universe really is all about. And if you go the other direction, it's way more satisfying. It's way more, all the cool people are over in the light side of the room. That's why they're cool, actually. They're full of energy and light and hope and love and interesting ideas and interested beings thinking about interesting ideas, where we all connect, all the possibilities, how we can bring this into reality. All the cool people are in the room. The room, which nobody knows what that is, because I think I did that on a really cool episode a few episodes ago, and I'm not sure if anybody listened to that one. I really need to get people listening to this because I say interesting things. Who am I? Who am I? Who are we? Who are we? Let's go through this really quick. This is the full abstract. I'm now switching slides here. There's the origin of mass and nature of gravity paper and the full abstract of that. I find this all very interesting because, all right. I am there. That's the one I wanted to go back to. So if you are listening to this for the first time, know that I have posted 130 some, I think there might be that many 120 at least public facing videos that you can go and just track how I went from where I started to what I sound like now. You know, it's not different material. It's just me getting smoother and easier and more familiar with my material, how I'm working with this here. It's not that my life has not particularly changed yet. Well, it has in some ways. I think that we have acted differently in a particular financially facing situation that I think is going to pay off next year in a much bigger way. And I think that we're all in a fine position to be able to hold off until then, until we get our big payoff. And I feel really good about that, actually. So that's a difference. But for the most part, the corn's still in the ground. The corn has not popped up yet, and the ears have not appeared, and we are not feasting on corn on the cob yet. But the corn's in the ground, and I can feel it moving. I can feel it moving. I think that we are growing a significant crop of something. And so it is well worth waiting for it all to come together and come to fruition. Just because it doesn't pop in a single instant, patience, although it's not patience, because, oh wow, I've got a creature that is making noise on the other side of my closet door. I may have to go do something about that. Do you hear that? All right, hold on. I'm going to go see if I can interrupt his little ass. Well, I could not catch sight of him. My violently opening up the door, and he was able to scurry off quicker than I could spot him. Dang it. So anyway, I've been doing this for a while, and if you want to see the progression, and in the course of seeing the progression, you will see my general thesis ideas. I believe that a clearer, more matter-of-fact understanding of these things that are generally held in pretty sacred space, and they're considered very personal, and it's almost offensive to generalize it too much or matter-of-fact it too much, because the whole fun of the thing is the mystery. And there's plenty of mystery and complexity and intricacy and possibility. There is so much of that. Still, it's going to make it so much more fun. So much more fun to understand that right now the mystery has been, so when we don't know who we are, then we don't understand the forces at play, what we throw into play as we run our energies this way and that way, whether we are acting on our positive self or acting on our negative self, or believing that we are connected or acting as though we're disconnected, or any of these different kinds of energies. We don't fully understand the collective result of those kinds of activities because we are a field phenomenon. We are connected at the matrix level, and what I do affects you and what you do affects me in ways that, is hard to, you can't overstate it, but it's really important. Us not understanding these things, I think, is what's making us so discordant amongst ourselves on this planet. We should at least be able to deal with each other, understanding, if you're in a certain kind of state, my understanding of human nature should make me, well, I don't know what to say about that. What should we do? I don't know what we should do. We should understand ourselves. And then we would naturally organize in an appropriate way amongst ourselves and unto each other and amongst the rest of the biofield of the planet too, so that we are no longer committing the 6th mass extinction on planet Earth. The thou shalt not kill is absolutely not being paid any attention to. We think that thou shalt not kill means only thou shalt not commit unsanctioned individual murder, person to person. Unsanctioned. If you're the one who decides that that person should die and you go out and kill them, that's the one thing that is not allowed. All the rest of it's allowed. We can kill the rest of the ecosystems. We can sanction, large mass murder of one another under the guise of war. Bombing one another. What do you think that does? It murders one another. But if we do it as a group in a really big sanctioned way, then that's okay. Well, that's nonsense. It's not okay. It's not okay. And it's committing the 6th mass extinction on planet Earth. And we're all going to die. Well, I don't know about that, but it's not going to be a pleasant future. There's all kinds of dark things that could await us if and when we don't understand ourselves. That little debacle, the couple of debacles we had last century, call them the First and Second World Wars, especially the second one. The second one was actually First World War Part 2, because that one never really finished. The First World War didn't finish. The Germans, on the German side, they were left very unsatisfied at the end of that, and it was just sort of like a truce was called, and then Hitler got together reorganizing to finish World War I. That's kind of what World War II was. You could see it as the Second World War, but it really was a continuation of the first one. That never, the emotions behind the first one were never finished. I think we're done with the Second World War now. I'm not sure we're completely done with the Civil War here in the United States. Not always sure about that. Now, I don't focus that way. I used to for a minute. It was interesting and can be fun looking that way. But it's hard for me to focus on everything now, and I'm trying more to focus forward, where we're going, what sustainability looks like, what would be the answer to our problems. I know I'm not really sitting in a sanctioned position to really direct any of it, so in a way this show is meaningless at the moment. I shouldn't have said that. I don't like that sentence. It didn't feel good when I said it. It's not meaningless, but I don't have the direct connection to this alignment to our systems as of yet. Hopefully, at some point, it will be connected through the hearts of others as they come to all these same conclusions. Things like, there's only one of us here. That can't be an original idea. I can't be the first one that's ever thought of that, It's a relatively I don't know a lot of people who really live out of that idea. But all of us collectively our systems need to be aligned that way. And then individual human beings can continue to be free to impulse from their own source, from their own ping, from their own center, and organize in the way that they see best. It has to be left up to the individual. That has to be the answer. But collectively, it would be nice if our systems were in better alignment with sustainability and the truth of who we are and how this actually works, If we want our financial systems, our communication systems, our transportation systems, our energy systems, all of our systems need to be sustainable. And I'll tell you, our communication systems in a way, what do you mean sustainable? I'll tell you one of the problems with our communication system. a lot of our communication is done through this little device that I have in my hand called a cell phone. And cell phone manufacturers are still allowed to bake into their equipment planned obsolescence. I mean seriously planned obsolescence. Apple people want to sell you a new phone every 2 years instead of, there's all kinds of other things that they could be doing. They could be growing. They could be evolving. They could be getting cooler and cooler and better with their eye to making us all better and more whole and more cool and more effective and more connected and more all of that stuff instead of the crap that they do in order to just, and they make them way too breakable too. I know they could make this phone. They could send it out of the factory. You get a tiny drop of water up in the internals and the whole thing is like crap. So you don't want, and how many times have people dropped it in the toilet because it's in their back pocket, and as they pull their pants down, in that particular position, sometimes it just falls right in the toilet right there. Oh my gosh. Should be against the law. But you know what? The law should be more like guidelines of a civil society, and we're watching you, and when you don't follow these things, we know your heart is not in the right place, and we won't give our business to you, or we will something. There will be some sort of feedback, consequence. But, these companies should be doing this because they understand who we are and what's best and where our future lies and where the side of the bread their butter is on too. Where their bread is buttered, which side their bread is buttered on, or whatever that expression is. I can't remember what it is. So how do I think that us understanding source energy will get us the freedom that I claim it will? It's going to get us freedom from gravity. It's going to get us freedom from fossil fuels. It is going to get us the freedom to love and trust one another as far as we can love and trust one another and understand where we can't trust each other. And then we don't trust each other that way, and we don't need to trust each other that way because each and every one of us is plugged into our own source because we understand what source is. And we understand that we're supposed to feel good. Feeling bad is not acceptable. It's not okay to have your eyes be locked onto something that's making you feel bad. That's not okay. That's not using your design correctly. You're supposed to understand that in the biggest, widest, ultimate frame, you're okay. Yeah, there are frames going inward where you aren't okay. Yeah, sure, I get it. I'm not okay at all. On planet Earth, I'm not the slightest bit safe. I guarantee you someday I'm gonna die. But ultimately, even that's okay. That's what the meaning of it is that the farthest frame out, is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Are you in the light or are you in the dark? And frankly, farthest frame out, it's okay. We're okay. It's all okay, no matter what. And you know what? This is the rock stability I could have, should have, could have. Oh man, so terrible. I did not give that strength to my children. I did not just say, no matter what, we're okay. It's okay, honey. It really is. And just feel and have them feel that I'm okay. Because back when they were young, I was not okay. I was frightened. I had a kind of stability, but it was really very distant for me. I wasn't displaying it out there for my children to see, I don't think. I was frightened. I was married to an alcoholic that I loved, not necessarily in love with. Now, I don't know why I feel like that is so important for me I wasn't lost in my love for him. And I wasn't a doormat but I cared about him. I really did. We were friends, and I saw his heart. And even when he was a butt cheek, I knew that it was coming from insecurities that were coming from honest places, abuse in his childhood and confusing relationships with his father, who was also an alcoholic. And you know the old story. We all have these stories, you know. I could see who he really was, and I wanted to help him, but I couldn't help him. I couldn't force him to get well. I couldn't understand his disease. I did not understand where he was going wrong. He was going wrong in a misalignment of understanding the relationship between him and him. He did not understand that there were two beings inside of him. And that when his smaller self took a meaner, smaller track, he was going out of alignment with his true self, and that was his his not understanding how to. Anyway, I had babies, and he was a train wreck, and going to get himself in the kind of trouble that was going to put him in prison, and we were going to be stuck with that as the paradigm we had to deal with. This person that we love, that is so meaningful to our lives, and now I did not want to deal with that. That was not the life I wanted to live, and I was very upset about it, and I wanted to shake some sense into him. That's neither here nor there. The fact is I did not feel secure, and the girls felt my insecurity, and they have not felt an anchoring to their own source because of it, because I did not show them as they grew up where their source was by modeling it for them. And so I have to model it for them now. But now they're not little children, and have to say that little thing that they're worried about is not a big thing. They're big people. And I have to be steady and strong. And you know what? I'm finding it an exhilarating experience. And it's really very educational for me as we handle now big people things. And I have to, I'm air quoting the words, I have to stay in alignment for them. Well, that's what you want to do anyway. You want to stay in alignment and build a momentum of positive, whatever, because that's what your inner being is over there, just being in alignment, knowing that it's okay, knowing that at the end of the day, when the last trick is played, the very last one, it's okay. That's the one you have to know. All the other stuff in between, I can't promise you that it ain't going to be a rough ride. There's volcanoes on this planet. There are wars churning on this planet. There are issues on this planet. There are complex things in play. We're made of meat, people. It could go south. And especially where and when people don't understand the laws of the universe. And one of the main laws of the universe is what you put out is what you get back. Because the basic actual structure of the universe is like a big mirror. And you're glad it's like a mirror because it perfectly reflects who you are and what you're doing, which means that you have control over what you get back. Just see yourself and the whole picture is bigger than you are not just a tiny, insignificant. You are not just your physical body. You got to know that your matrix, your influence, your structure, your mind, your all of yourself goes out bigger than that. You have an overview self, that's from your point of view is centered right where you are, but radiates out and includes the whole world. Your inner being is in touch with all things. So, I do believe that a better understanding of ourselves, who am I, will bring the world to a better place, both psychologically, spiritually, relationship-wise, so that we're kinder to one another, we're less mean and horrible to one another, through our general, through the structures that we relate to each other with, like the Justice Department and the Police Department and the Department of Defense. All of that needs to be way softer and way kinder. And what do you mean? What do you mean way kinder? Bombs and missiles and guns and such? Well, good question. On the other hand, I actually have a great deal of imagination, and I can see the good in all things. And I can see where the structure of the military has, in a lot of ways, brought us to greater realizations of the physicality of this world and greater capability to operate and mobilize and function, with a hierarchy of orders being, if our military was in alignment with the spirit, first of all, it wouldn't be all about guns. There would be a very minimal actual guns and munition supply, a very, very minimal, but a highly ordered sense of what's going on in the world. So we can't be surprised by somebody over there arming, and then bombing us when we don't have a stash of bombs to answer them with, right? So you got to keep yourself safe from that, from somebody over there in a pocket, swirling in a field of negativity, deciding that, they are the Antichrist and they have to go out and, or whatever, and then springing that on an unarmed world. You got to be careful about that kind of thing as we disarm, because we got to disarm. I don't care what anybody thinks. They think that it has to happen based on what they're looking at on the ground at this moment. Oh, that's not reality. You're not facing reality. Well, I have no intention of facing reality because the reality we've got sucks quite a bit, is not sustainable, has all kinds of misalignments all over the place. And rather than going in there and trying to fix it at that point, Abraham would say, just lay new pipes. Just go straight to the solution and work it from there. And so that's what I do. That's my job. That's my job. I'm retired, so I don't actually have any other job that I have to do. I only need to do what I want to do, and I want to do this. I want to come into my studio every morning, and I want to talk about the world and talk about myself and talk about us and who we are and what it means to be human, and muse about the different ways that we can solve all of our problems, because we can solve every one of our problems. We just have to really want to solve them, and we have to understand ourselves. And then our problems will be solved, and it isn't going to be a big deal at all. We will have free, clean energy, and we will be able to do everything that we need to do. We're going to have other problems that are going to come up, privacy issues, and there's going to be a lot of different things that are going to happen when we all have all the energy we need. Then we really are going to have to control the ones who want to hold the rest of it hostage because they don't know who we are and they think that the thing is dark. We need to be teaching our children the actual paradigm that we are in. Because the universe is so supportive that you can play it all kinds of ways. And because it's also a mirror, when you play it these different ways, it'll mirror back to you. It almost looks like it is these ways that really it isn't. What I'm saying is like the win-lose paradigm, the zero-sum game paradigm. I win, you lose. Finite pie, that, the survival of the fittest. And so we all have to be in constant conflict to see who is the fittest, who is worthy of surviving, and all of the rest of them need to go, or whatever that kind of mad there's a lot of people who believe in this paradigm. They have been taught this paradigm. They interpret Darwin as this paradigm. But that's actually not the paradigm. On the other hand, the universe is so supportive that if you play the game with that paradigm, it plays out as though that is the paradigm. And we start getting losers all over the place. There are losers. We shouldn't have any losers, or we should have very, 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 very few losers. This is not a win-lose game. This is a win-win game. Win, 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 for the most number. Now, you might end up being somebody who doesn't fit into the win, 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 but it's up to you. It's up to you to fit, because the game is win-win. And when you understand it that way and play it that way, the universe will support you in that too. So which one do you want to be supported in? A win-lose or a win-win? Win-win is so much more satisfying, so much more creative, so much more fun, and so much more potential there. And in the end, the win-lose paradigm, since it actually isn't the paradigm, will make losers out of way too many humans. We'll make losers out of all of us, ultimately. We are too strong, too powerful. There are too many of us. If we play that game much longer, we're all going to lose. And instead, we can all win, and that's going to be a lot more fun. That's the one we should be doing. We should know that the default setting of our biotechnological equipment is joy. How's that for a bit of news? Stop the presses. The default setting on our equipment is joy? WTF? There's a lot of people out there who are not experiencing joy, who they are experiencing far from joy. But they are not understanding who they are. We are spirits in a material world, and as spirits, we're untouchable. We're okay. We are safe like I said, when the last trick is played, we're fine. That's what it means to be formless, coming into form. The form is not the primary aspect of the universe. It is an aspect of the universe. Yes, it's not an illusion. It's real. It's real. It's real. The form is real. Yes, 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 it is. However, it's not the primary reality. It's the secondary reality. The primary reality is the vibrational one. It's the level of the Plancks themselves, the sea of Plancks that are coming into being as material and then winking right back out, winking right back in, winking right back out. What holds it into any form, into some form as opposed to some other form? It's attention and focus. And so our job is to put our attention on what we care about, to focus on what is preferred, because what you're focusing on and what you give your attention to is the direction that you're moving. And since we're all in this together, you're kind of moving us all that direction. We're all moving the direction that, in a way, we have two aspects. We have the connected almighty aspect, the source aspect that's connected to all things. And then we have our individuation, our divine autonomous individuation aspect of it. That's the only part that you have control over. But, as it turns out, that's the only part you need to have control over. And when you are aware of how it works and what the rules are, what are the rules of the game, what are the laws of the universe, the law of attraction, that which is like unto itself is drawn, and then the 5 laws that Bashar talks about, you exist, everything's here and now, the all are one and the one is all, what you put out is what you get back, and the last one, everything changes except for the laws. Those are the 5 laws of the universe. And then the 7 things you need in order to survive. Air, water, in order of how Quickly you will go still if you do not have it. Air, water, sleep, food, shelter, relationship, and expression. And of course, there are exceptions. This is just a general outline for how biological life, what it needs, what we need. We need these things. We need these things. And the last two, relationship and expression, won't kill you quickly, but eventually you will slow down until you stop moving, until you really stop moving, if you don't get even those. So, why do I think this understanding is going to get us clean, free energy at the point of it where everybody wants it? Anywhere in the whole world. Why do I think that? Well, first of all, there is a documentary that they've made that I do believe that there is a significant amount of truth to. Now, you don't have to believe things, you don't have to take things whole or not at all. So if you watch that movie, understand that there is truth in there. If you think that some of it is overstated, or some of it might be coming from a bleak direction, or you're not so sure about completely about the extraterrestrial equation, a part of it, or whatever. Take whatever from that movie that you can. The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. Documentary about over-unity devices that have been hidden, that have been invented and then removed for national security reasons or whatever, because we can't be trusted with clean, free energy. We can't be trusted with it. Or at least I'm assuming that's what their rationalization is. Now, they might overtly be knowing that they are doing it to stomp on the future and make sure that we stay connected to fossil fuels, so that hundreds of trillions of dollars of economic activity down that direction is all protected. It's possible, and if you take a cynical view of it that way, okay, there's probably an element to that, for sure. But you don't have to take a completely cynical view. I can completely understand. Can you imagine if you twinkled your nose right this minute and all of our cars now fly and everyone has all the energy that they could possibly use to do everything they need to do? First of all, my imagination shows me a vast number of changes that will come along with that. And some of them going to be a little bumpy. We still have some people that hate other people. What are they going to do with clean, free energy? Are they going to arm to the freaking teeth? Are they going to pull a Waco times 1,000? Are we going to have all kinds of competing fiefdoms, warring with one another in the sky all over the planet, socking away guns, mistrustful of one another because based on... Is that what it's going to look like? I don't know. It could. It could. If we don't lovingly come to understand who we really are and what we're really all about on planet Earth, that we are one species on this planet. And we need to, we could operate singly when there was not so many of us on the planet. But if we get to be 10 billion people who are circumnavigating the globe with goods and services and human beings and fuels and all kinds of things, we are a superorganism. We are a single being onto this planet, and we need to get our systems in alignment with reality, with the actual reality of our situation. of how we are connected to the rest of the field, how we are connected to the rest of life. It's just absolutely logical. And as such, there have been a lot of people who've talked about our emotions, and they've talked about our negative emotions, and actually Spock thinks all of our emotions are illogical. He thinks our happy emotions are illogical too. Our happy is illogical, our unhappy is illogical, and he's wrong about both of them. They're absolutely logical. There is a mathematical logic to this. You are two beings, and those two beings are literally spinning vortices. Now Abraham called them spinning discs of attraction, but they are spinning, both of them. And the one spin is connected to everyone else. Everyone else has that same spin going on. You are connected to all the universe through this one point of original spin. That is your source self. And this self is always looking forward, focusing only on the love, the preferred, the connection, the win-win point, the expanded reality of reality at all times. That one, you don't have to worry about that aspect of yourself, but also know that it is not a God that is disconnected from you, that sometimes comes in. It comes in, chooses to soothe you, but sometimes it's busy somewhere else, so it forsakes you. It's not like that. It's you. It's your connection. And so it's up to you. You get back what you put out. But don't think of it materially. Think of it vibrationally. Don't worry right away about, I haven't given enough in tithing this month, or I haven't passed out enough blankets at the homeless shelter this month, or whatever. Just think of it vibrationally. Don't think of it in action. Not until you are in full alignment, and then and only then maybe take an impulse to action. Get momentum's positivity built up, and then maybe start thinking thoughts. But watch it. Your thinking mind is the problem. Your thinking mind has the capability of, in alignment, understanding the complexities of this universe. But don't let it lead the way, no matter what it feels like. Oh, this is what the universe is. But as I ponder it, it makes me feel so sad that this is what it is. Well, I'm here to tell you that if your conclusions about the universe are making you feel sad, then you're probably not right. Because your inner being is connected to the actual universe, and she is joyful about it. So whatever your thought is, you're not in alignment with her. And so if there's a disagreement between you and her, I'm going to go with her because she's in touch with all of reality. You just are spinning thoughts over there, When they hit, they feel good. When they miss, they feel bad. You call it positive and negative emotion. It has to do with how in alignment your thought was with the thought your inner being. Your inner being is your source mind. It's your source vortex. You got a source vortex, and then you got an individuated vortex. That individuated one is you, your authentic you self. That's you over there. Actually, that was probably the wrong way to say it. You got your source self and then your individuated self. Your source self, in a way, you have no control over except through the feedback that your little self can do with the field. You can have some effect on the greater all. Mostly through your alignment. In your chaos, you have very little effect on anything. You're a little poof that just poofs out and really has no coherent effect on the greater field. In alignment, you have better... I know I'm a little disjointed today. Have I shown this picture? This is my boring picture. Yesterday's show was really good, by the way. So if you find yourself listening to this one and you're like, well, this isn't entirely satisfying, listen to yesterday's. I think I did a good job with covering the thesis material. Why I think that this understanding is going to plug us into source energy and free us from gravity and make us understand that we are one. We are one being. You're one being with the whole universe. There is oneness. It's all one thing. And it dances into appearance all over the place in different ways, but it is all one thing. And this thing that it is a matrixed system of Plancks and black holes, and it's holographic, it's spinning, it's understand the physics of this from a general standpoint, and you'll get why we're gonna be plugged into source energy. I don't think it's even a question. We are gonna have control of gravity. I don't think it's even a question. We're poised right in this moment. It's just like 100 years ago when we first had discovered electromagnetic fields. Electromagnetic fields are what made the 20th century. The other end of that spin, which is gravity and an understanding of us, is what's going to bring us the 21st century. Because we're not in the 21st century yet. We're still in a holdout from the 20th century. The infrastructure bills that are trying to go through our Congress and that sort of thing, they're all based on 20th century technology and 20th century systems of economy and 20th century... We've got to transform our systems into sustained, aligned, sustainable. I've said those same two words how many different ways? We've got to transform the system. We've got to. And I don't know what the truth is about how much time we've got, but I think that this full throttle will not change the energy paradigm. Fossil fuel thing we're doing right now is going to, we can't sustain it, and I think that we can't sustain it for even as long as we're trying to hold on to it. And if we keep, we're going to have a lurchy moment if we don't do this gently and kindly and understand what's coming and what we need to do. We need to plug into source energy. We need to understand that over-unity devices are possible. It is possible to have a device that just puts out energy. Because it's not creating energy. It's not creating energy out of nothing. That's why the physicists have us believing that we can't do it, that you can't have a device that, like maybe dialed into the electromagnetic field of the earth can't just be continually moving, putting out perpetual motion. It's not actually perpetual motion. It's as long as it's tagged into that particular frequency, boom, it's putting out energy. It's possible. Our patent office and our government has been hiding the truth of that for 100 years. And the result has been we have been gently guided to specialize in our different ways. And if you aren't a physicist or in the energy sector, you don't even have any reason to even be looking this direction. And now, even if you are in those sectors, the mainstream of all of it is still educated in a particular way, and we've just been gently guided to believe that we have to do what we're doing the way we're doing it because that's the only way to do it. And that's not true. Now, I could get my panties in a wad about conspiracies about this, because certainly this has to be known by some people. Maybe they're afraid of what what the ignoramus, ugly, stinking, fighting, angry world is going to do with this information. They're afraid of what they're going to do. Maybe with justification. Waco wasn't that many years ago. How about a Waco that does not have to answer to the outside world at all? Because they are self-sustainable. They don't even have to have their energy coming in from an outside grid that the government can control. They don't have to have anything like that. They are self-contained and armed to the teeth. What are we going to do with that? What are we going to do with that? We're going to leave them alone is what we're going to do with that. And then we're going to try to missionary, information in, hey, this is who you really are. This is who we really are. This is what God really is. This is what source energy is. This is how things come into being. I've been watching a lot of Star Trek lately, and I like Star Trek. I think it's a wonderful show, actually. The one I've been binge watching lately is Next Generation. I don't actually believe that the future looks like Star Trek. It's going to look like something else. And one of the reasons is the Star Trek vision has us carrying on the way we compete with one another for territory and posturing for position and stuff, and militarily, and the ignorant things that we are with one another. We carry that out into space with Star Trek. And I actually don't think that we will carry it out into space, because I think that in order to conquer the space, you have to understand how it works. And so you can't, your ticket to being a galactic being is you have to understand source. And we are all extensions of source energy. And in order to hit the cosmos, you have to deeply, spiritually, vibrationally, completely understand this. And so the intergalactic beings are not at war with one another. They are parts of the body of the great being who is the universe, who is alive, And to be anything less than that would be an autoimmune disorder to the universe. And I don't think that it actually works that way. The physical universe is so huge, so ungodly huge, and I almost say that word advisedly, so huge that to try to traverse the universe from that side of it should be inhibitively daunting. You should say, you know what, that can't be the way. There's way too much resistance going over that direction. Look at how far it is. I mean, even just to get to our sun, which is the closest star to us. The next closest star is going to take us years and years and years and years and years. Well, you get out much farther than that, and you have to be in stasis, for centuries to get some places. And what good does that do this civilization on Earth right now? I mean, it's not connected to us. There has to be a different way. And there is a different way because this coin has two sides to it. And on one side of it, it looks so big and so vast, and we're all so alone and so lonely and empty and, whatever. It looks like that on the one side, but you go to the other side of that same coin, and it's so overcrowded over there. All of the cool people, all of the consciousness, all of the separate consciousnesses that have been separate, that are separate and yet one, they're all over there on that side. All the cool people who have ever, everybody and everything is over there on that side. So who am I? Who am I? It is worth pondering. It's worth pondering extensively, by the way, especially if one has a problem with your negative emotions. What are your negative emotions? You've got to know that you have an aspect of yourself that if you could identify with it, if you could know that it's not just something you have, but something you are, if you could identify with your positive aspect, you would understand what your negative side is. It's when you, in your smaller self, took a smaller tack and it did not resonate with who your larger self really is. You took a mean, small thought. I'm worthless. My neighbor is worthless. We are all doomed. We're alone. This shouldn't be. I am wrong. I don't matter. Any of those kind of thoughts. Do you feel the vibration of those? All of those are small thoughts. Now, you could find a context, maybe you could find a context where if you looked at it from that slice, from that one angle, it kind of looks like what you just said. I'll grant it to you. But it's not the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth is that you're okay, and that we're okay, and that we're all in this together, and that this is Project Humanity. And we can solve all of our problems. We can solve all of our problems. We can be incredibly solution-oriented. We can re-garden this planet. We can be blessed. We can create heaven on earth. And you don't even have to be all that sacred about it. You can be a little bit sacrilegious about things. You don't have to hit that holy vibration all the time in order to understand the matter-of-fact nature of what it is you're looking at. But then when you get into that holy space, understand what that vibration is and have some respect for it. And then have some understanding of the religions who hit that frequency, and they base their whole religion on the fact that, yeah, we can hit this frequency, but then the rest of the cosmology doesn't necessarily line up with actual reality, with actual physics, with the actual way that reality comes into being, that this rolling manifestation is fluxing and flowing. That's what we've got to get together, get that all together, get it all into alignment, know who we really are, plug into source energy, plug yourself into source energy. It's the only thing you can count on. Don't look for your source anywhere in the physical world, because that's all the world of form. Your source is in the world of the formless. Look for it there. And you say, well, how do I look for anything in the world of the formless? It's by definition, it's formless. How do I see it? Your heart will see it. You can feel it. You can feel it. Get in touch with your vibrational nature and start looking at the world vibrationally. Honor your feelings first. know that when you're in any kind of negative state, you are in no state to move forward. You are only in a state to move backwards. So quit moving unless you want to backtrack. If you need to backtrack some in order to get clarity so that you can really get a run at it, but that's what you're doing. If you were trying to move forward from a negative state, know that you are only moving backwards. But if you need to do that to get a little clarity, because in sitting still, you're still not understanding. You got to get some motion going, or you won't understand how this works. So you move from whatever direction you can. Besides that, if you're locked in a state of perpetual negativity, well, you got to act. You have to eat. Maybe you have to go to work. Or you're going to end up on the street. But even on the street, you got to beg. You have to act at some point. And if you can't get out of your negative emotion, then you're just stuck with backwards, aren't you? So who am I? Good question. I've been talking about it for an hour and 50 minutes. Hopefully we cleared up anything. I don't know if we cleared up anything. But understand that your problems that you're having with the world don't have to do with the world. They have to do with how you understand yourself, how you understand the greater context that you're in, and how you understand that interface. And if you would get that lined up with actual reality better, then your results on the ground are going to be better. What do I mean by better? More in alignment with what you prefer, whatever it is that you prefer. Do you like peace? Do you like action? Do you like nature? Or do you like art? Do you love children? Or do you love trees? What do you love? What do you care about? Go follow it, because humanity needs you to do it. Your heart is what connects us all. My heart connects to your heart, and so you've got to live in your heart in order for us all to be whole. That's really what it is. For us to be whole on this planet, all of us need to be manning our own centers and focusing on what would be better for us in a win-win paradigm. Not us selfishly, but us. We all do better when we all do better. And so if you could add into your calculations other people doing well too. I like my house cleaned. And I have a maid who comes in about once a month. Every 4 or 5 weeks, she comes in and cleans my house. I like that. It's a wonderful thing for me to have that. I might be thinking in terms of, well, what's best for me is if I pay her the littlest amount that I can pay. And then, I get the most house cleaning for the smallest amount of money. That's what is best for me. And that's all I'm thinking about. But don't think about it that way. Think about it is a win-win. She does a great job. She's a genius at house cleaning. I adore her. She's wonderful. But she needs to make a living, and if I don't help her make a living, she can't keep doing it this way. She can't keep... She can't afford to schedule me days. Maybe she'll have to, I don't know. It's better for me if I think of this as a win-win. So, the win-win position is, well, I can afford to pay her X, and, that's a little more than market value. I want to make sure that she gets a little more from me than market value, so that she understands that I really value her. And when I ask her for accommodation on scheduling, she tries to accommodate me because she knows that I'm thinking about her. And if you did all of your dealings in all of life that way, looking to the win-win point, what's good for you, what's good for me? Because if it's good for you as well as good for me, then you're going to be a cooperative component to my venture. If it's not good for you, then you are not a cooperative component. You're not in my field of possible organization anymore. We're all trying to organize. We're trying to organize in some sustainable way. Connect with one another so that we can pass goods and services and ideas and chores and whatnot on to one another so that we can sort ourselves out into a state where we're all doing the job that we're born to do, the one that we want to do, the one that we're good at doing. Because we could shake out that way. The universe is trying to organize us in loving, kind, supported ways. We just need to lean into it, quit fighting it so hard, quit imagining that it's all a struggle, and realize that we're here for the joy, we're here for the creation, we're here for the relationship and the camaraderie, and to identify who we are and what we prefer. That's actually what we're here for. We've just gotten lost in the stuff, in the materiality, because we're born into a paradigm that claims that the materiality is primary, but it isn't. The vibration is primary. And I see I'm past an hour and 55 minutes. If I want to halt this before the 2-hour mark, I'm going to have to start coming in for a landing now. I have not as yet in my second iteration of the show gone past 2 hours, and I really don't want to. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I'll be back tomorrow. I'll do it again and again and again and again. Some people will catch on at some point, and they'll start being interested in the show. They'll start seeing the possibilities of where we can go and what we can do with what we've got, which is amazing and so much and all that we need. All that we need. We have all that we need to do everything that we need to do on this planet. We just need to understand who we are. And so tomorrow I'll be back with another episode of Who Am I? Until then, stay blessed, stay cool, stay safe, stay joyful, because we are all okay. We really are. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow. And until then, you know what I'm going to say next, because I don't know what else to say. Until tomorrow, may the source be with you.